Hey y'all, I'm Nat. I am the principal here at the Herbal Apothecary. Thank you for joining me for another podcast episode here at the Herbal Apothecary podcast. And so, here on the podcast, we mix up current events with healthcare. And so, we talk a lot about natural remedies and herbal remedies and alternatives to healthcare, as well as cooperation in a sustainable economy and how to achieve a sustainable economy. So once again, thanks for joining me. And oh, we also like to highlight a an herb or an herbal remedy that's beneficial and that can go along with the lifestyle disease. So this week, I want to highlight. It's not necessarily an herb. It's usually a mix of herbs, but it is that season with the weather changing, and so I want to highlight fire cider this week for the podcast. So fire cider is a concoction made of, and it can be made a few different ways, but I think the most popular way of making fire cider is with apple cider vinegar and a slew of herbs. And so usually you're using a lot of citruses, limes, lemons, oranges, as well as some recently sprouted herbs. So goldenrod is out here right now, y'all. Well, depending on where you're at. Where I am in North Carolina, and I know in Georgia, right? Like here in the southern states, goldenrod is in bloom, and goldenrod is great for flus and colds, as well as um, like sinuses and sinus infections and things like that. So it's a great addition to fire ciders. I've got some in mind cooking up now. And so fire cider, it's again, it's that time of year. So if you know a herbalist or if you're hitting the farmers markets, to see if you can find yourself some fire cider or make some yourself. All you really need is some apple cider vinegar. Get you some citrus fruits. Get you some again, goldenrod is out right now, but you can use a lot of different herbs to put in the fire cider. Get you some oregano or some rosemary, some thyme to go along with those citrus fruits, and make you a container of fire cider. And all you need to do would be to like take a shot a day if you want to be preventive, or if you were to fall ill. You can take a shot or two a day through your illness to help get you better. And so I certainly recommend fire cider. Seeing as how it's about the end of October now, it's only going to get a bit colder for a while, and these you know flu season and cold season is upon us. So if you got some fire cider in your fridge and your pantry, it's only going to be beneficial for you for the winter months. So go out and get you some fire cider. You can always go to our website, www.theherbalapothecary.net. We'll have some fire cider available towards the end of November. So we got it cooking now. But after the fire cider, let's hop right on into it because it has certainly been a lot of events happening out in the world. And I want to hop into the election coming up because in just a couple of weeks, we'll be seeing who our next president is going to be. And there was a lot of media circus around Obama's remarks in trying to promote Kamala and voting for Kamala amongst black men for to become the next president, right? And so the immediate response is, oh, he's trying to shame black men and he's trying to talk down to black men. And I find it funny because there's no neutral media really out there, right? It's really a lot of it is really right wing media, and the little bit of left wing media that we have doesn't really get a lot of play because the way media has always worked is that like the salacious aspects of it are kind of what sells the papers, right? And so you have Obama saying very because I heard it, I saw it. Like I didn't just see a snippet or see somebody's response to it. I saw what Obama said, and in my opinion, hit dogs hollow, right? So if you really felt some kind of way about what Obama was saying, to me that only says that you might actually be uh, who Obama was speaking to, right? A misogynistic black man who doesn't believe that a woman can be president, among other reasons, right? Because I know for a fact that misogyny isn't the only driver behind why the black male vote is decreasing in the Democratic Party. But when we're specifically talking about a black woman running for president, who's already vice president, and why people don't want to vote for it, and specifically black men, I think the misogyny narrative has some truth to it, right? Because if I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at what Kamala has said and what Kamala has done, Kamala actually had the ability, and did, right, come up and release a plan specifically for black men. Now if you look at the plan, I'll say it's you know I could see how it could be read as being stereotypical, right? The very last agenda item on the plan is speaking to um, legalizing marijuana, right? And so to me, that says that, the Democratic Party, right? All they do is listen to their backwards ass consultants, and don't actually go after the people that they are trying to seek, right? They use a middleman, and then they often get it wrong. And so, over here, we try to be pretty neutral, and so I'm not really pro anyone, but I am certainly not pro racist, right? And so I can see clearly when somebody who's misogynist, racist, liar versus someone who is at least trying to create an agenda for black men to appease them for their vote, right? Like, it's so funny to me how uh, the thing that is said is no one asks us what we want to do, no one has a plan for us, and all of this. And then when she produces the plan, now I'll give it to you. Maybe she might not have asked you, but when she produces a plan, everyone is still balking at it and acting, or just ignoring it completely. When on the other side, this guy hasn't produced anything. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have an agenda. He's never even said that he does. But somehow he's already garnered your vote, right? And so why? Why is that? Is it because you think that this guy has your better intentions at heart? And I'd love to have a conversation with somebody around why that is the belief when this person's history, full history, speaks otherwise, right? This is someone who uh, tried to have black men murdered for crimes that they were found that they did not commit. This is a guy who, the only reason why we know him, is because the Justice Department back in the 70s, okay, went after him for racist housing practices. He wasn't renting to black people. You know what I mean? And so in the 70s, you know how racist you got to be in the 70s for the Justice Department to care that you're being racist to black people? Listen, you know what I mean? Like I said, I try to keep it real, right? Like, no one cared in the 70s. You have to be egregious in order for the Justice Department. They barely care now, right? Like, they barely care now. And so you have to be egregious back in the 70s for them to put a case on you around racial discrimination in housing. I think it was like what, 68. Like, they had just put housing discrimination into housing discrimination into laws, right? And so the one of the first cases is going to be Trump, and this is the guy you want to vote for. So I think when Obama is speaking about misogyny being a factor in why black men don't want to vote for Kamala, I think there's credence to that, and I think it deserves to be spoken about, because there is a history of misogyny within the black male existence. I mean, look at Diddy, his entire career. Look at hip hop. The entire well, rap music. Let's look at rap music. Rap music and purveyors of rap music like Diddy have made their entire careers based off of misogyny. You know, demeaning women and belittling women, and this idea that women are second class. And there's a greater history even within our civil rights movement. I know I've touched on this and spoken about this before, you know, and I'm not just talking about the civil rights movement of the 60s. I'm talking about the civil rights movement of the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, when black women were spearheading cooperative movements and mutual aid societies and creating a self-esteem curriculum for black people who were recently uh, you know free, quote unquote, to be able to see themselves in a better light and not just as slaves, right? Black women were heading these initiatives up. And in the course of them doing it, they were doing such a great job that black male leaders literally went to them and was like, "Hey, we need y'all to pump the brakes on that because we're trying to get these things done for us. And since y'all are doing all of that over there, it's detracting from what we need to do, you know? And that unfortunately is a lot of the history between black men and black women in these United States, right? It's really unfortunate that if we take a look at history, it is black men who decide not to be a part of the pack. You know what I mean? And not to promote the needs of the pack. They promote their own needs because their desire is to be like white men. You know, that has always been the initiative and the guiding star of black men. How can we be like white men, right? Instead of just being like themselves. And so it's unfortunate, and it's very unfortunate to say, but even across our religious class, right? Like my pastor Kenny, spoke about it at church on Sunday. He's on a call with a group of pastors, black male pastors, across the country, and they're all on the call talking about how they can't vote for Kamala specifically because she's a woman, and women cannot be leaders. So this is something that's pervasive amongst our community, and it deserves to be talked about. Because if that is that's what black men are taught, right? I remember I had a friend a long time ago. She had a son, and she said, "I'm going to teach my son this, that you don't take that off of no woman, and that you are better than a woman." Right? And so this is a guiding principle within our community, that women are second class, that black women exist to serve black men, and when they don't, they're ridiculed and shamed, right? They're too loud, and they're too much, and too this and too that, right? Or you hear the narrative of, I'm a man, and so you must do these things, but it's never I'm a man and I must do these things. That never seems to be the narrative. It's never what I need to do as a man. It's always I'm a man, so you must treat me this way. You know? And so how can we correct an issue if we ain't never gonna talk about it? And so misogyny is pervasive throughout our community. Obama talked about it. My pastor then talked about it. If you read into Black History talks about it. The best amongst us, right? MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., everybody's favorite black man, right? At the end of his life, and at the end of his efforts in order to integrate black people into white society, what did he come up with for himself? He said that he feared that all he has done is integrated his people into a burning house, right? And so if the best amongst us are not able to really lead us in the right guidance that we need, and at least he's man enough to admit it, then tell me, and I want to have this conversation. So please hit me up in the comments, hit me up, you DM me, whatever, right? I want to have this conversation of showing me where Black male leadership has led us to a progressive or successful or beneficial aspect of our society, of our community. Where is the black male leadership and where has it gotten us? Let me know. Because if you can tell me where black male leadership has gotten us, where we are better off because of black male leadership, then please prove me wrong. But every time something happens, all I see is black women out here in these streets trying to get the change that we seek, right? Even if we look at our politicians and who we elect to office in black communities, it's so much harder to elect a black woman than it is a black man because we have this ingrained ideology that men are the leaders. But if we look at African societies across the diaspora, right? Um, Historically, it is the black woman who was the leader in those societies. And so if we take that and we fast forward into now, black women are the most educated group in the United States. Period. That not just amongst black men and black women. Period. Right. That they're the most educated group in the country. Black women are the number one small business owners and startup creators now, right? Black women are opening up businesses at a higher rate than anyone, period, right? And so if we're looking at that, black women are also the most politically active within our communities, right? Black women are up on their politics. Black women have for years had an agenda that they wanted to and have presented to politicians in order to create change for their communities, right? They've been about it, right? And so when we talk about black men in the political realm, we elect them, um, but we don't necessarily see that leadership bring anything to fruition, right? There's a lot of people who love, and God bless him. God bless Clyburn. He's been in the game a long time. He's been in the game a long time. And I know that there's a lot of people who think that politics is about throwing community events and cookouts and coming through a few times a year with a wave and a smile. But if you haven't been able to materially make change on the ground for the communities that you serve, I don't see black leadership there. I don't see black leadership there. You have people like people in the house right now, or who are leaders of the house, who support a genocide, even though they know that their people have been had genocides committed against them. But they'll sit up there and hat in hand, going along with the program because they want to be aligned with the white side. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think it's comical and it's funny to have such a blowback about honest dialogue, right? If we can't talk about misogyny within our community, then we're just signing up to live in falsehoods. You know what I mean? Because we live in a misogynistic community. Black men are misogynist more times than not. When we have people like Plies come out and talk, that he's an outlier. He's an outlier. The majority of black men really do feel like black women are not leaders. And so they can't be the president of the United States, even though they were already elected as vice president. You know, black women can't be leaders. That's why we gotta stop them from being the head of the civil rights movement and doing the things that were positively changing our community just so that we can say black men can get the right to vote. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a history of this misogyny within our community that's worth talking about. It's worth talking about. And so, I think that if you're willing to vote for someone who is a racist, for someone who's a known misogynist, he's a racist, a rapist, uh, and a degenerate, and someone who is bad at business. And so there's this other narrative that he's a smart, savvy businessman because he was able to skirt responsibility by filing bankruptcy. I don't even get that. I don't even get that. Like, how you think this man is a sound businessman because he failed? I don't get that. I don't get that. How do you think that his policies are beneficial to you when you're not? What benefit do you get? What benefit do you get other than the same benefit that he's giving to racists, right? The benefit of Trump to racists is that Trump says what the racist wants to say but feels like they can't say. Trump does what the racist wants to do but feels like they can't do. And so for you, black man, to want to vote for a racist, raping misogynist, how are you aligned with that? You okay being aligned with that because you say he's a good business owner because he was able to finesse the system? This is fraud. You're giving a round of applause to a fraudulent man, and that's okay, but you don't want to vote for a woman simply because she's a woman and she's hasn't done anything for us in the past 4 years. She's Let me know the last time a vice president did something for the nation. When was it the vice president's job to create policy and do something for the nation? Now, either black, white, brown, whoever. I want to know when in history the vice president's job was to spearhead policy. Because last time I checked in the United States of America, the vice president was the vice president's job was to support the president. And so if the president doesn't have those agendas, right, then it's the president's fault. And who's the president now? Biden is the president now. And who's not running for election now? Biden is not running for election. So this like right wing, salacious narrative of, well, why she ain't do nothing now? When has any vice president done anything? When did the vice president do anything? Name 5 vice presidents. You know what I'm saying? Like these they don't do nothing. They go and they break the tie in the Senate. You know what I mean? Like, that's what do they do? They go and they get shipped around the country to kiss babies and shake hands in the name of the president. It is not the vice. It isn't. It just is not the vice president's job to step outside of what the president's will is. And so now all of a sudden there's this narrative of Kamala hasn't done anything in the past 4 years. Actually, she did, because she gave a tie-breaking vote in order to bring about, what was it, the IRA, or was it to keep health care, right? The tie-breaking vote. Like, she did her job. She did her job. And so, it's just a twisted sense of media, right? Right wing media and narratives and salaciousness to say, well, what did you do in the past 4 years? She did her job as the vice president, and she's creating and letting you know of all of the things she would like to do as president of the United States. She has policy agendas out there. She's talking about these policy agendas that she has out there, while the other person doesn't have anything other than, I'm gonna kick out all the immigrants. And again, it's the people who don't want to take self-responsibility always seem to find somebody else to blame things on, right? So if you're a racist and you don't want to be responsible because you drink too much, or you whatever your racist intentions are, then got you messed up in your life, right? Because you want to be racist without having power, right? So you just allow your prejudices to control you. And so now you're in a bad state, and now you're in a bad state because the immigrants came over. It's just silliness and nonsense. But the same thing could be said about black men who promote this agenda. You're in line with this, Because when have you taken up a policy initiative? When have you called your congressmen and your representatives to say what's happening in your communities? When have you taken the self responsibility to be a leader in your community to bring about the change for all of the people in it? You know, when did these things happen? When did these things take place? I ain't seen it. And so you let me know. You let me know what I'm missing. But it's real easy to say, hey, it's these people's problems. It's that over there. It's pointing the finger everywhere and at everyone instead of what they say when you point the finger at somebody else, you got three more pointing back at you instead of taking self responsibility. And that is what cooperation and creating a solidarity economy is all about. It's about taking that self responsibility. It's about taking the troubles that you have into your own hands on a collective community level, right? So because many hands make light work. And so when it comes to what Obama said and all of that nonsense and all of the blowback nonsense from what he said, I mean, again, hit dogs holler. And if you're a misogynist and you're okay voting for Trump because you don't like Kamala being a woman, if the shoe fits, you know what I'm saying? At least had a decency to wear it. You know what I mean? Like, don't be mad that you get called them. Don't say, oh, they're trying to scold you. Nah, they're not trying to scold you. Ain't nobody talking down to you. They're telling a truth. And since you are someone who likes that guy, you don't like truth. And that's why you're able to vote for someone who doesn't know how to speak truth at all. You know, because that he only speaks to what makes you feel good, right? Oh, I feel like a woman shouldn't be a leader. And so he says that. And so I'm okay with that. So I'm going to vote for him. Just like the racist. Oh, I feel like, those black, brown immigrants, all those others shouldn't have the same rights as me. And so he says that. And so I'm going to go vote for him. You are in line with who you in line with because you are who you are. You know what I mean? And that's cool. If that's what you want to be, that's your right. You're an American. You can have those viewpoints and those things, but uh, you know, don't try to play both sides of the fence and act like you're not that, because you are. You are absolutely that. So that's it's unfortunate, but that's the unfortunate truth about our community. There are a lot of misogynists because it's been a bedrock of our community for such a long time. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. It's in our music. It's in our movies. It's in the way that we treat our spouses and our girlfriends and hell, our mothers, right? Like, it's there's this inherent, like, oh yeah, they are less than, and just because you get called out on it, don't mean people are trying to scold you or put you down. They just talking the truth, and I know you don't like truth, brother. So, I want to say women can lead. Women have historically been leaders, in particular, black women. It has been the role of black women since times before times, right, to be the leaders of their communities. That's why there were monarchs, right, in existence across the nation. That's how England stole its monarchy, right? And having queens lead, right? Like, it's a thing. It's actually a thing in history. And again, if you feel like black male leadership is an actual real thing, hit me up in the comments and let me know where I'm gone wrong. Because I'd love to see who is a black male leader that has made material change for the community that they serve. Other than Cooperation Jackson down there in Jackson, Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? Them brothers is getting at it. And in the cooperative sense, there are certainly some black male led organizations that are doing that work in community, right? But they are in community. They're not just you know hit dogs hollering. You know what I'm saying? There are black men out there putting in that work. And so I'm not saying that there's not, but in the line of, I'm a Trump supporter and I believe it's the immigrants that are doing this, and Kamala's never doesn't have an agenda for me. I'm talking about that segment of black men, right? Show me where's the leadership amongst them. Where's the leadership amongst those folks? Because I'm missing it. I'm absolutely missing it. But I do also want to concur that I don't think misogyny is the only reason why black men are not adamant about voting for Kamala. I don't think misogyny is the only reason. You know, I think there's certainly a truth to the Democratic Party not engaging black people enough. And when they do engage, they are typically engaging black women because black women have been engaging them, right? And so when it comes to black males engaging politically, you know, there's not enough of that, right? And so other things that are issues within our communities that pertain to black men, are the education system, black businesses, black health, right? Because our education system, if you're in an inner city or you're in the you attend the black schools, right? It's no secret. It's just like misogyny being a part of the black community. It's no secret that black schools are underfunded and have been underfunded for decades, if not since their inception. You know what I mean? Like our schools have been dilapidated for forever. Our teachers are the most underpaid, right? There's a and that's the system, right? That's the system at hand because our system is built off of racism and putting one group above all the others, right? And so in school systems like Richmond City Public Schools, right? Baltimore City Public Schools, right? Philly, right? You go into these black areas, and you can see very clearly that this is a policy disaster, right? Where these schools are not being funded properly, and they go into our tax dollars, right? They pull tax dollars from the area, and those tax dollars are supposed to pay for that school. And that would sound good on its face because, hey, okay, well, we have all these houses here and da 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 da, right? But somehow down the line, it seems that our tax dollars are going towards everybody else's, and everybody else's tax dollars don't come back towards us, right? There's a lot of sharing going on from the uh, black areas in their tax dollars, but not a lot of sharing to go into it. If they need to pay for something or they want to put up a new casino or some shiny new project, uh, typically it's the black schools funding that somehow it can siphon out of those monies or black business monies, right? I know in Richmond after the uprising, the George Floyd uprising, right? Uh, some of the mayor there, Stoney, decided to take money from a black business fund that at least I had never heard about it before. I had never heard about this black business fund being in existence, and somehow I think it had been in existence since like the fucking early '80s, right? I think it had been in existence since the early '80s, and uh, so he's going to take money out of that program, which had the same acronym as a federal program that was like recently being enacted. And so it was a great smoke and mirrors move to be able to take the money out of that program and then give it to the business owners downtown on Broad Street and in the Fan whose windows have been busted or something of that nature, right? And so again, there's always seems to be money where they can siphon it out of our communities and give it to others, right? But there's never seems to be money that can come from those other communities into ours. And so if we want to have a policy initiative or we want to have something to speak about, I think that could be one of them, right? Like, why is there never any narrative or promotion of the dollars that are available to black people, just like in the IRA, right? Like, there's so many programs in the IRA around manufacturing and energy production where they've specifically earmarked money to marginalized or minority identified people, right? But a lot of that money gets left on the table because there's never a narrative or a promotion of those dollars outside of their normal channels of communication, which never seem to reach us, right? They have a way that they do it, and they put it in there in these policies that they're going to earmark 30-40% for these people, and then somehow those people never really hear about it because all they communicate to is their very narrow view of who they've always communicated to, right? And that's another issue why, I can see why black people don't want to vote Democrat, right? Because they got a lot of lip service and they do a lot of things on paper, but in the aspect of materially changing the lives and the communities that they say they want to help, we don't never really see that change come about. You know what I mean? And so I know it's not just misogyny, but it's an unfortunate cycle of Democrat smoke and mirrors moves, right? We'll come around and come to your churches every 4 years, or we'll give a lot of lip service to, the plights of black people. We'll be in Congress putting on kente cloth and taking a knee. But when we get back up, it's going to be business as usual, which means we ain't got nothing for you. You know what I mean? And so I totally get that. I totally get that. But to me, the issue comes in when then you want to run to another side that has done the same exact thing, if not worse. You know what I mean? Because the Republican Party definitely has not had an agenda for black people for forever, right? Not since black people were actually in leadership roles of the Republican Party. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about the John Mercer Langston's of the Republican Party, right? Like those kind of Republicans. And that's it. Once that was over, Republicans have not had an agenda for black people at all. And so for there to be like, this rising swell of black people who want to vote for these folks who ain't never had an agenda for you, just because these other folks tell you they got an agenda for you and then don't. I mean, I guess, but I think that I always try to find a solution, a real solution, and I believe, and that is the purpose of this podcast, right? Is to promote cooperation amongst us and self responsibility amongst us so that we can be the ones who solve the issues of our community since we do not have others who are willing to do so. And instead of spending our precious lives and our precious limited time in begging one party or the other to do for us, we actually have the power to do for ourselves if we were to take on the self responsibility in order to do so, right? And so, how are some ways that we can solve these problems? And I didn't even get to touch on healthcare and our health problems because we're dying from these lifestyle diseases at an alarming rate, at a rate that surpasses any other ethnicity in the country. Right, we are dying from these lifestyle diseases, and one of the reasons why we're dying from them is because we are told that these are hereditary diseases, right? That these are diseases that we've just inherited because our moms or our dads or our grandmas and grandpas might have had these diseases as well. And so it's hereditary. And what that really is telling us is that there's nothing we can do about it. It takes away our agency when it's a hereditary disease. But I started to do some research into it, and it seems to be hereditary for us. For everybody else, it's a lifestyle disease that can be eradicated or changed or improved with lifestyle changes, right? But instead of that being the narrative, that there are lifestyle diseases that can be changed or improved through lifestyle changes, we're told that these are hereditary diseases, and that infers that that tells us that we can't really do nothing about it. That we can't do nothing. It's hereditary, no matter what. It's just, well, if my mama had it and my daddy had it, the only thing that you have inherited is the lifestyle that causes those diseases. That's it. That's the only inheritance that those diseases are. You inherited the lifestyle that causes those diseases. That's it. That's it. Because lifestyle diseases are caused by the lifestyle that you lead. And so, what are some of these lifestyle diseases? You got metabolic disease, diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Right? These are the things that shorten your life. They shorten your life because of the lifestyle that you are living. So what about that lifestyle causes these diseases? High cholesterol diets, and I just be putting this on repeat. I know it. I probably say this on every episode, but diets and high cholesterol, i.e., high animal fat diets, right? That's what's harming us. That's what's harming us the best. You have high animal fat diets combined with low exercise rates, right? Low fiber, low fruit and vegetable intake, and then you're getting these diseases that you could absolutely avoid, but you're not exercising, and you have these meat based meals. And I'm not completely against meat, right? Like I'm not a meat eater myself, but I don't want to take, nobody's meals away from them, right? But the American lifestyle, right? The American lifestyle is one where it focuses on meat as the primary source of calories, of nutrition somehow, right? Like it's your meat, it's your protein. That's what the American lifestyle focuses on. And so since the American lifestyle focuses on that, now you have black and brown and indigenous people dying because they adhere to the American lifestyle where meat is king. So I'm not saying, I am saying don't eat meat, absolutely. But if you're gonna eat meat, don't make it the centerpiece of your meal. Make the fiber from fruit and grains and vegetables. Make that the center of your meal. Make your vegetables, the center of your meal. Your healthy grains, right? And not just uh, this industrialized meat. Because a lot of people will say, well, our ancestors ate meat, and we survived off of meat for so long. And there's some truth to it. There's some truth to it. All lies are have a little bit of truth in it to make it so, right? But the truth of the matter is that our ancestors, they raised their own meat. They knew their butcher. That was local meat. What we live now in is an industrialized meat manufacturing American system that serves us up unhealthy meat, and we are intaking unhealthy meat at a large rate, right? It's the most important thing. And then we're turning around and we're like, well, why is everybody sick? Why is everybody dying from these lifestyle diseases that can be avoided? Well, it's a whole mentality shift that has to happen, right? We have to shift away, especially us who are dying from these diseases at an alarming rate. We have to shift away from the typical American lifestyle and start to move towards healthier plant-based lifestyles. I'm not saying you got to get rid of your meat completely, even though I would love for you to do that. But shifting away from industrialized meat. More people need to raise chickens. More people need to raise cattle for meat production locally, so that you can give local meat, healthy meat, to your community. So that's a solution there, right? When you take on self responsibility, you start to create solutions for you and your community that can help sustain your lifestyle and your livelihood. And so another solution to that, right? And so cooperation, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we be talking about. Uh, and using tools at our disposal. So we have the IRA, and we have these federal bills that have passed that have these earmarks specifically for marginalized communities. And so I want to let y'all know about them so that you can call these folks up and say, hey, we are trying to bring this to our community, and creating those worker cooperatives in order to sustain yourselves within your community, right? So what is a worker cooperative? A worker cooperative is a business that is owned and operated by the workers within that business, right? It is still a for-profit business. It's not a nonprofit. It's not a second-rung business. It is a corporation, an enterprise that is simply run by the people who work within it, right? And so instead of there being a singular, CEO or shareholders that have no clue about the business and the days in and days out of that business, the shareholders, the stakeholders, the CEO, these are all people who work within that business, right? And so creating a manufacturing worker cooperative that can be financed through the IRA law that was passed by President Biden and has earmarks for Black and brown people and marginalized folks and minorities in order to take advantage of this program that's already in existence. You can create a worker cooperative, which is who they want to work with, right? They want to work with cooperatives. They want to work with community-based initiatives. And a cooperative is inherently a community-based initiative. So you and your folks, right, get together, figure out something that you want to manufacture and sell and trade, right? And then hit up the IRA, right? You hit up the manufacturing arm of the IRA. You can call these people and tell them, hey, we have this idea. We would like to bring manufacturing into our city, into our community, and we have, this product that we want to sell. We have this many people who would be interested in buying it. They'll help you do the feasibility studies, right? They'll help you do the feasibility studies and help you tweak your plan to make sure that it is a viable plan that can be that can withstand within your community and provide a means for your community. These things are available right now. So that is a perfectly good solution to creating a source of income and creating a solidarity economy within your community for your own people within it, right? That's just one solution from Biden and Bidenomics that we can benefit off of right now, right? And so another solution is community-based lending as well, right? Like we can create a lending system through CDFIs, through the public banking system, right? Remember SUSUs a few years ago? Those got bastardized because they got very quickly turned into a pyramid scheme. But traditional SUSUs are how communities have maintained themselves over time, right? Mutual aid societies where people buy into collectively into like savings accounts, right? So that they can grow their monies together and lend to one another so that they can create these businesses or create these initiatives, right? Create a school together, right? Because no one, you might not have all of the funds today, but if you came together as a community and you all saved together, you'd have them a lot quicker than if you were just trying to do it by yourself, right? Many hands make light work. And so if your education system and your schools and your community aren't up to par, what does it look like for parents within that community to come together, save up some money, and pay for their own teacher, right? You can create your own school. And especially if we can get these charters, through, and I know there, people, got a lot of things to say about charter schools, but if we can get these charter schools, that's another way that we can use public funds in conjunction with our own to start to create the systems that we desire. And our educational system and educating our youth is important to all of us. I know that for a fact, right? And so what does it look like for us to get together collectively and create a school system for our youth that teaches them self-esteem and Black history, since that's being taken out of schools all across the nation, right? So there are solutions out there, and moving towards a solidarity economy that is based on local community needs and local community trade, right? And local community health and education and all of the things that make up an economy. When we move towards a solidarity economy, we can achieve these goals much faster and be able to rely on ourselves instead of always around these elections getting so amped up and so offended and all of that, because we constantly only rely on which one of these systems is actually going to work for us when we have a history of knowing that neither one does, right? And so this has been the Herbal Apothecary podcast. Join me next time when we delve into more about cooperation and the solidarity economy and ways to tangibly bring about change for our communities. But if you want to hit me up, you can hit us up at the Herbal Apothecary underscore on IG. TheHerbalApothecary.net is our website. The Herbal Apothecary on TikTok. Definitely hit us up on YouTube in the comments and let me know what you think. What do you think about black misogyny within our community? What do you think about our educational system and creating a solidarity around providing a robust and an education system that works for us? What do you think about creating a healthcare system within our communities? Because everything could be rinse and repeat, right? What does it look like for our communities to take our doctors, right? We got plenty of black doctors out here. I mean, we could always have more, but what does it look like to take these nurses and these doctors and to hire them within our communities to give our communities the care that we need instead of relying on a system that has historically demoralized us in terms of healthcare, right? Let's take up the self responsibility to solve our own problems instead of continuing an individualistic outlook that diminishes all of us, right? So thanks for joining me again. This has been the Herbal Apothecary Podcast. I'll check y'all next time.